It is global infrastructure of Microsoft Azure cloud. So trying to understand how they have built this entire cloud infrastructure. So some of the basics that we go through here is obviously to understand what is a data center. So can anybody tell me what is a data center? It's the same prerequisites training that I've advised you yesterday, right? Prerequisites to learn any cloud. So it has that data center concepts, but still, you see, data center is the foundational component in Azure cloud. Once you have the data center, you have availability zones, and then you have got an Azure region, then you have got Azure geography, then the global networks, of course, the Azure edge or the POP locations. Now, do you really think it is good for us to go in deep and trying to understand what is a server, the components of it, and multiple servers put together in a physical location inside a building with the networking in place, storage, backups, everything in place? We call that as a data center, and multiple data centers together, we call that as an available. So, going in that low level is not the time. I strongly advise you, if any of you have not completed the prerequisites to learn any cloud computing until now, I strongly advise you to go and complete that training program. I'll give you the links in the class notes. Let's try to understand this data center concept. Say this is the building where you're operating. In the same building, one room is dedicated to have your servers, networking, storage, backups, and all other IT components put together in a single room. And that room has got a proper temperature to maintain, proper air cooling, air filtering as well. Because servers, if they have polluted air, they'll get corrosionated and physical components will fail. You have a temperature control, air cooling, air filtering as well, and there is a security. Not anybody and everybody can get inside the data center. It's a controlled access, right? So this physical location where you have all facilities and the infrastructure components like servers, network, storage, databases all put together is called the data center. Okay, that's called the data center. So Azure data center, well, obviously Microsoft Azure has got physical data centers, over 200 physical locations. Let's study about region. We will come to availability zone in a while. A region is, say, maybe in North Virginia, they have this data center. Now I'm sitting in Hyderabad. I wanted to have my applications hosted into Azure cloud, right? And all my customers are based out of Hyderabad. There is one more customer who is in Bangalore, who is in Chennai, who is in Singapore, who is in Malaysia, maybe in China. So geographically, if you see, North Virginia is too far to these countries, right? When you host your applications here and your customers are in the respective countries here in Hyderabad or China or Malaysia, Singapore or Dubai. So what happens is when you have your applications running in North Virginia, there'll be a huge latency when your customers try to access the application. There'll be a huge latency when the customers try to access the applications. That's the reason the concept is to bring the data centers near to your customers. Well, at the same time, it is not possible to have a data center in every city of every country. For example, in India, if there are like 1,000 major cities, well, Microsoft or for that matter, any cloud provider cannot have 1,000 data centers only in India itself. That's the reason they try to have it in possible number of physical locations. So what is a region? Well, a region is a physical location where Microsoft have one or multiple data centers. A region is a physical location where Microsoft may have one or multiple data centers. For example, Hyderabad is a region. So in Hyderabad, Microsoft may have one or more data centers. Singapore is a region where Microsoft may have one or multiple data centers. Virginia, Sydney, and so any physical location it is. A region is a physical location where Microsoft have one or more physical data centers. Now, Venkat, why do you think Microsoft would have more than one data centers in a single location? Why? Why? Because let's say one is the scalability. Maybe in Hyderabad, Mindspace is one of the IT parks. In Mindspace, they have building number 11. where they have their data center. Let's say over a period of time, the customers have grown, the building 11 and that physical facility is not sufficient. So they feel, okay, maybe in building number 11, if it is already there, building number 5 or building number 20, or in Hyderabad itself, it's not mind space, maybe the new IT park somewhere the extreme, the other side of a city. Maybe let's say Uppal. Just assume that they have another IT park there and they have another data center here. For the reason of scalability, there is a possibility they have multiple data centers. And another reason is that, let's say, the same Hyderabad, Mindspace is an IT park, building number 11 is where they have their data center. Now, there is a huge floods. Because of the huge floods, the water is flooding through. The entire Mindspace is full of water. So the building number 11, the ground floor is full of water. So that essentially caused the power to go down, and essentially you shut down the data center. And when you shut down the data center, it is an outage to your customers, right? So initially, when they have built the data centers, they've only built one data center in a region. Okay, there is only one data center in a region. But later, over a period of time, over a period of years of time, they've come to know, all right, having one physical data center, if something like this, water is flooding through because of this natural calamity, or there is a earthquake, or because of the rains, the main power source in high-tech city in Madhapur went down, the entire substation, there is a problem. It takes them for 2 days to restore the services, whatever. So the local backup you have in the building, that will not last you for 2 days. So because of XYZ local issues, there is a possibility that you may have to shut down the data center. That's the reason. The concept is to have another data center in the same region. If Hyderabad is a region, well, in the Hyderabad itself, we'll have another data center which is geographically separated by some 100 kilometers. Physically, these two data centers are separated by 100 kilometers of a distance. So 100 kilometers is because something like floods, earthquakes, or any other power issues may happen that is likely not to disturb the other data center. And they say, all right, 1A data center is this, 1B data center is this. Now, customers can come and put their applications here or here. It's your choice. Now, customers, I mean, to the cloud administrator or to Azure administrator, one of the job roles they say, you're responsible for designing highly available, highly scalable applications in Azure cloud. So when they say it, you are expected to understand this entire global infrastructure. And if you are creating an application here, you are to design to have the second instance in the other availability zone and put a load balancer. And this load balancer is published over the internet and the customers are accessing it. Should there be a problem with one of the data centers here, the machine failed, well, it goes to the load balancer and load balancer obviously transfers the traffic to the other server, which is healthy in the other availability zone. So, see, the concept is to avoid scenarios where there can be natural issues, natural calamities, earthquakes, floods, maybe tsunamis, right? To address such kind of issues, if there is only one physical data center in a region, that becomes the single point of failure. So to address that, Microsoft has started building their data centers with the concept of availability zone. So this is called an availability zone now. Availability zone 1, availability zone 2. So what is an availability zone? Availability zone is having one or more discrete data centers in a same physical location. So guys, I think you understand what is a region. Region is a physical location where you have one or more data centers. Physical location where you have data center. Okay. You understand what is a data center, then you understand the region. Now, availability zone is to address the single point of failure issues. Microsoft, for that matter, all the cloud providers started building their infrastructure with the concept of availability zone. So in a same region, you will have data centers in multiple locations. If it is Hyderabad, Mindspace and Uppal, right? Physically separated by 100 kilometers at least. I mean, I don't say Uppal and Mindspace is 100 kilometers distance, but by principle they say it. We try to design to have a physical distance of 100 kilometers between the availability zones. Well, you can ask me a question, Venkat, if I create a virtual machine here, will it automatically get replicate here? And if this fails, will it be available? No. They say we give you multiple availability zones in a region and we give you many regions. So in which region you create your application, and you want your application to be in a single availability zone, or you create it in multiple availability zones, have a load balancer in between so that you address the high availability. So how you design, implement is up to you being a customer. All I do is I just ensure it is available to you. That is your availability zone. Then the geography. So geography is, you say, Venkat, you said a region, which is Hyderabad, and a region, which is Sydney, right? In Hyderabad, I have two availability zones, availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. I mean, also in Sydney, there are two availability zones, 1 and 2. Now, what I do is I'll create one machine here in Hyderabad and one machine here in Sydney, and between them, I wanted to have load balancing. So I publish it on the internet and my customers will access it, right? I've seen there are scenarios where the entire Hyderabad may get failed. If it is a bigger calamity, let's say if the data center is in Mumbai, a tsunami hit, the entire city is likely to go down. I wanted to address the issue not just at the availability zone, but at the region level. I want a region level failover. Can I do this? Well, technically you do this, but there are some compliances enforced by the local government bodies. For example, let's say you are an insurance company in India. You are collecting the Aadhaar cards and other personal information from all the customers, from all the citizens of India, and you've stored this in Azure data center that is in Dubai. On fine day, Government of India, the regulation compliance authorities have come and audited the insurance company, and they've realized they are storing the customer information in the IT devices that are outside of India, which becomes non-compliant as per the government policies. You need to understand the data compliances. So based on that, they have something called geographies. So just like how we call these continents, right? So Africa, Asia. So just like these continents, you also need to understand what are the Azure geography boundaries. And Azure geography boundaries are based on the local government compliances. So a geography could be multiple regions. Multiple regions put together could be could be a geography. And global network is you're connecting these regions together. You're connecting these regions together. That becomes your global network. And Microsoft Global Network is private to Microsoft, that they are not using the internets here. I mean, your traffic will not collide, or your traffic is not merged with the public general traffic that flows on the internet. That they have separate networks, they have separate fiber optic connections connecting their regions and data centers. Of course, they also have connectivity to data center, but data centers are interconnected with their own private links. Finally, the last one, the edge location or POP locations. Let's say this is an attempt to bring services even closer to the customers. For example, in North Virginia, you have this, Netflix hosted. And I'm sitting in Hyderabad. I wanted to watch a movie that is recently added to the library. Well, from my location, it goes to the local ISP, and from ISP, it goes to the edge location. I mean, it goes to a gateway at the country level, and then it goes all the way to North Virginia. Well, Netflix, you are streaming a full HD quality video, maybe a 4K quality video over the public internet connection, which is in a different continent altogether. And maybe I'm not the only user. In Hyderabad, there are hundreds of thousands of users trying to stream the same video. And so in the rest of the world, people in different physical locations are trying to stream the same video, full HD or 4K quality video, which is going to add a lot of network overhead. It also adds a lot of latency. Instead, the concept of this edge location is, say, the North Virginia, you have the Netflix site hosted over there. So they have the catching location in Hyderabad, edge location. So when a customer access the movie, it goes to edge location, goes to North Virginia. When a customer watches that movie, streams that file for the first time, it catches here in the edge location. So from then, if there is a new customer trying to stream the same video, it is streamed from the local catching location, but it will not go to North Virginia all the way again. And so it could be 100 or even 1,000 or even bigger number, any number of customers it is trying to access that file. A file is streamed from the local edge location only. So edge location is not a fully populated data center, but it is just a catching location, maybe a server with full of SSD hard drives. So they have more number of edge locations compared to the number of data centers. Maybe they have some 200 physical data centers, 200 regions, but hundreds of bigger number of edge locations. That is to deliver the content on a faster network to the customers.